What's poppin', y'all? Welcome back to another episode of NBA Weekly. I'm your host, Pee Wee the Plug, and the offseason has begun. Kevin Durant has requested a trade from the Brooklyn Nets, and Sean Marks, the Nets GM, and Rich Kleiman, Kevin Durant's agent slash business partner, are coming together to try to find a destination or a trade for Kevin Durant. The Miami Heat, the Phoenix Suns are two top teams on his preferred destination list. Obviously, all 29 teams are going to be interested in getting Kevin Durant. But a couple of key things to note. It's been reported by Woj that obviously Kevin Durant signed an extension, so he has 4 years left on his deal. And the Brooklyn Nets are going to prioritize what's best for them. Kevin Durant can have a preferred destination list all he wants, but ultimately the Brooklyn Nets are going to worry about the return in the package more so than trying to move Kevin Durant to where he prefers to be. With all that being said, though, I do think one of his preferred destinations, the Phoenix Suns, could have their stars aligning right now with the situation that they've had with DeAndre Ayton and the uncertainty if he'd be on their roster next year. And with him in restricted free agency, a potential sign and trade with Ayton, maybe throw in another Mikal Bridges or something like that. I think that would be a very good return for the Brooklyn Nets. And it puts the Phoenix Suns in a situation to be able to have Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and now Kevin Durant added to that trio with James Jones and Monty Williams coaching this team. And it puts the Suns in a situation where they could really strike gold. For me, I look at the Suns as a more realistic spot than the Miami Heat, just for the simple fact that I don't know if the Miami Heat can really put together an overwhelming package. As much as I understand that Kevin Durant wants to be there and Miami is always linked to certain teams, I don't know if they can compete with the package of Mikal Bridges and DeAndre Ayton as just starters. That's just a starting point. We're not talking about picks. We're not talking about other throw-ins potentially. We're not talking about anything like that. We're just talking about a surface level package to begin with. And I think Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo does not compete with DeAndre Ayton and Mikal Bridges. So you look at Brooklyn. Obviously, something is going on there. I don't know what to expect with Kyrie since he opted in. I don't know if he's going to request a trade and want to be moved. I don't know if he's going to just try to play the year out with them and just leave in free agency next year. I have no idea. This is all coming together in front of our eyes in real time. And every time I look down at my phone, things are just getting intense. Right now, Brian Windhorst just said Kevin Durant is going to try to force himself to Phoenix. Again, I understand Kevin Durant has preferred destinations, but with the contract extension, I don't think he has a no trade clause or anything like that. The Nets are going to do what's best for them. And this is not a situation where, hey, Kevin Durant has played his career here. We want to do right by him. The Brooklyn Nets are going to do right by themselves. They obviously have been annoyed because they have not talked to Kyrie or Kevin Durant since Kyrie opted in. And the whole opt-in saga is what they're calling it. So there's been some disconnect there. And it seems like it potentially got messy and is getting messy. So then to expect the Brooklyn Nets to do what's right by Kevin Durant all of a sudden is hard for me to believe. So off the top of my brain, as far as trade packages, it's hard to say because there's so many teams that's going to have interest in Kevin Durant. There's certain teams that we don't even have to talk about because they just don't have anything or anybody. But you have to imagine that some of those top teams, like the Suns, like the Miami Heat, are going to have extreme amount of interest. And now they're asking right now, so what is going to happen with Kyrie Irving? I find it hard to believe that Kyrie Irving is going to play this year out with no Kevin Durant being there. And that's a funny situation. But you have the Philadelphia 76ers with Tobias Harris, Tyrese Maxey. Hard to think that the Brooklyn Nets would give the 76ers James Harden and Kevin Durant. So you damn near can cross them out of the list. You have the Raptors with an abundance of players. I mean, you have Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, Scotty Barnes. They're a team that I would put in a situation there. Don't think the Hawks have anything. I'm just looking at all the teams in these conferences. Obviously, the Bucks have nothing. Cleveland doesn't have anything that I think will work. You look at the Grizzlies, Jaren Jackson, Dylan Brooks. Yeah, they probably don't have anything. The Mavericks definitely don't have anything. Utah, no way in hell. Denver Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon? Do the Nuggets go out and try to really push for Kevin Durant? The Pelicans? Do the Pelicans say, hey, Brooklyn, we got this Zion kid that you would love. We also have this kid, Brandon Ingram, who they say is the closest thing to Kevin Durant. We have a bunch of young talent. Dyson Daniels we just drafted, even though he may not be able to be moved because he just signed his rookie deal. They have a bunch of Jackson Hayes, Devontae Graham, Herb Jones, Larry Nance. The Pelicans, I think, could be a sleeper team. The Pelicans could be a sleeper team. Because for all we know, they're not sold on Zion. So what if they just say, hey, we have Zion? Brooklyn would definitely entertain the idea of acquiring Zion Williamson in a trade for Kevin Durant. So I think, for me, the Pelicans is a sleeper. And I'm just going off the top of my head. I don't know what's going to happen. I just think this is a crazy start to free agency. And I think this is a sign to tell organizations in the rest of the league, the whole Big Three thing, I don't think is anything that people or teams should really push for anymore. With the way that this Nets thing is unfolding in front of our eyes and kind of being a disaster, the Big Three that they had played like 16, 17 games. The best moment of this team with this Big Three was Kevin Durant by himself, putting up a 50-point triple-double, playing all 48 minutes against the Milwaukee Bucks, who went on to win the championship. It's just not many moments or not many things that were taken away from this trio forming in Brooklyn. You know, they didn't have a finals run. I think they never hit expectations in any year to do what we felt like they really could do. And to see it all unfold this way in this situation, and then, you know, you add in the Ben Simmons saga and the James Harden situation, and then the Kyrie vaccine, and then they hired Steve Nash, and now Kevin Durant is requesting a trade. I think this is probably going to be the worst Big Three trio and situation in NBA history. I think the Brooklyn Nets, it's going to take a while for them to recover from this. So I do think that they should prioritize themselves and try to wash their hands with all of this as soon as they can, and really even explore the Kyrie Irving situation, man. I really don't know what to think. I don't know if the Kyrie and Kevin Durant set them up, and Kyrie just said, I'm going to take my option. You request a trade, I'm going to request a trade, and we just going to leave them wherever they need to be. But, you know, a fresh restart of DeAndre Ayton, Mikal Bridges, Ben Simmons, it's cool. I hate the fact that they just wasted that first-round pick and sent it to the Jazz for Royce O'Neal. But I think it is something that would be best for Brooklyn. And I'm sorry, I'm refreshing my phone because so much news is coming out. But for me, I definitely think the Pelicans would be a dark horse candidate. Definitely think that the Pelicans could be a dark horse candidate. And you look at that team, you got CJ McCollum, you got Herb Jones, you have Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, Jonas Valanciunas is another guy that's over there. And then off the bench, they have Troy Murphy III, Dyson Daniels they just acquired from the draft, Jackson Hayes, Devontae Graham. I think I might have said Devontae Graham twice, Larry Nance. There's some stuff there to send the Nets 3 or 4 players, and out of those 4, it's headlined by a Zion Williamson, Troy Murphy III, 2 or 3 picks and some swaps or something. Like, the Pelicans can really put something together and get back Kevin Durant with CJ McCollum. And if you trade Zion, you got Brandon Ingram, Kevin Durant. If you trade Brandon Ingram, you got Zion, Kevin Durant, and CJ McCollum with a bunch of players that I think could be very, very key role players. The Pelicans are really staying on the top of my brain as I look through all of the teams in the NBA. I think the Pelicans have something that might not get talked about a lot, or won't get considered if they're not willing to talk about the Zion situation, because I think you have to start there. You have to start there with Zion. The uncertainty that the Pelicans have had and the history between those two sides the last couple of years, I think you have to start with Zion. The name, what he could be, and the only thing that could uproot that or pause that is if the Nets aren't super sold on Zion and his health and availability, because you're bringing that into Ben Simmons, who we haven't seen in a while, and that could be very, very messy and tricky. But it's very intriguing, and I'm almost curious to see the rest of this, to try to figure out how the rest of this is going to play out throughout the offseason. Because if you do a trade like that where you get a bunch of young players or young promising players, Do you keep Steve Nash still? Do you wash your hands with the Steve Nash situation? And then it's still the domino effect of Kyrie Irving, because if there's no Kevin Durant, then I just don't understand the need for Kyrie Irving. And I'm telling you right now, I think Brooklyn did not want to have anything to do with Kyrie, but I think still having Kevin Durant, they were the package duo, package combo, and they just bit their tongue and said we'll deal with it for another year. And when it meets its end at the end of the 2023 season, we'll deal with it then. I'm just so happy as a Knicks fan that this all happened in Brooklyn, because I could not imagine being a Knicks fan and seeing all of this explode on the timeline and how ridiculed the Knicks would be. Right now, all I see is, the Brooklyn Nets or Kevin Durant, Kyrie. But no, there is no humiliation for the Nets on their end of the part that they played, or and I'm not here to say that the Nets deserve any blame, because I think this is a situation nobody gets blamed for, because the Kyrie Irving vaccine thing was something nobody could have predicted. But the Knicks, we don't ever get the benefit of the doubt of stuff like that. No matter what happens, we always have to get ridiculed, and we always have to be the joke. So it's interesting to see the Brooklyn Nets not really be talked about. Nobody really cares of how big of a fumble this is and how bad this is going to be or how bad this is going to look. It's crazy, man. I love free agency. I love this time of the year. We just thought that DeJounte going to the Hawks was going to be the highlight or going to be the big piece or the big thing. And I really thought that this was done when Kyrie Irving opted in. And I was like, okay, well, that's the end of that. And all of the attention moved to Jalen Brunson. In a matter of hours, 11 to 12 hours, everything goes Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson going to the Knicks, tampering. What happening? Is DeJounte going to the Knicks? Oh, he got traded to the Hawks. All of this stuff. Bradley Beal 250. And we pushed away from the Nets very quickly because we all thought it was done. And then, boom. 34 hours go by, and Kevin Durant requested a trade, and now it's back to the Brooklyn Nets. We're going to continue to watch this play out. Now, with all the situation out, though, and all this information that we do have, I want y'all to put in the comments the best trade packages you can for Kevin Durant. Please, 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 please. I want to see really full, thought-out trade packages that could land a team Kevin Durant. I don't want to hear of this money might not make. I don't know if the money make. Go check and see if the money works. I want to see real trade packages, and depending on how fast this trade happens, I'll be doing a video taking some of y'all trade packages and grading them and seeing which ones look good and could be realistic. As always, this is NBA Weekly. I am Pee Wee the Plug. I'll see y'all next time. I'm out. Peace.